Good to see everyone. All right. Hey. So we are going to start off today just coming into our space with some breath work. If you have 2 balls, you'll use 2 balls. If you have 1, then you'll use 1. I'll show you the 2 different options. But the idea of this particular one is to really open up the chest and the middle back. So what we're going to be doing is if you have 1 ball, it's going to go in the middle back area. And you want it to be in a location where your head will actually touch the ground, whether it be actually the head or maybe you've got a towel or a pillow underneath you. Now, if you happen to have 2, you'll use 2. Now, they're not right next to each other. They're a little bit separate. So what happens is there's this sort of lateral pulling action that happens in addition to that broadening and lifting of the chest. So make your choice, 1 or 2 balls. And then once you've made that choice of the 1 or the 2 balls, you'll find yourself 1 or 2 balls laying down. It's a broadening of the chest, a lifting of the middle back. So if you have 2 balls, again, they're a little bit separate from each other. If you're using just 1, that's perfectly fine. And again, make sure your head is touching the ground, whether it's actually touching the ground or you have a pillow or a towel or something underneath you. Let those arms lay down with the palms open and think of widening your collarbones as you start to breathe. So if you're just joining us, we've got 1 or 2 balls right behind the middle upper back area. So if you have 2 balls, make sure they're similarly blown up. You just have the 1, that's perfectly fine. And then once you've arrived, start to breathe deeply into your belly. So diaphragmatic breathing. So we're breathing into the diaphragm. And as you're breathing into your diaphragm, you're thinking of broadening through the rib cage, through the collarbones, 1 or 2 balls behind your middle upper back area. If you just have 1, if you have 2, then place the 2 a little bit separate. So it's a 3-part breath. So breathing into the belly, up into the ribs, up into the chest. And then it's a slow exhale, ideally top to bottom, but don't get too much in your head about it. If you need some guidance, maybe you place your hands on your belly for a breath or 2, or maybe 1 on your belly, 1 on your chest. Deeply breathing. And again, this is in part just allowing ourselves to arrive in this space, prepare us for our work, but also working on deep belly breathing will bring you into a parasympathetic state, that state of recovery. Doing deep belly breathing will actually stretch out the diaphragm, the inside out. From the inside out, you're creating more space. Sometimes a locked down diaphragm can pull our torso into flexion, which means then we start to have back or neck problems. So oftentimes our stuck diaphragm will cause the problems in the neck or the lower back. So 1 or 2 balls is fine underneath that back. Let's go 3 more big breaths. Deeper than the last few breaths. So breathing as deeply as you can. And then it's a very slow exhale. And again, deep breath in 2 more times. And it's a slower exhale. And 1 more deep, deep breath. And a slow exhale. I recommend 1 of 2 ways to come off the ball, either or balls, support your head and lift up, or just roll to the side off of the ball or balls. So be very careful so you don't hurt your back. So just 1 ball now. We're going to be laying on your rib cage on the ball. We'll start off pretty high by the armpit. Some of you might want something under your head. It's not required, but if your neck feels like it's uncomfortable because your head is super dangly or doesn't touch the ground, then maybe a block or a pillow under your head. So again, the ball is pretty close to your armpit to start here. And then we're going to start to move our top left arm. Bend your knees so they're up at about 90 degrees, much more supportive for the back. This left arm, you're going to make some circles. It doesn't matter which way because you're going to go both ways, and take it slow. So maybe the circle is kind of smallish to start, and maybe the range increases as you start to move more and more. So arm is making a big circle. And then you can start to incorporate the body. So as I bring my arm forward, I can roll towards my belly. And as I come back behind me, I roll a little bit more towards my back. If you're really stiff in your lower back this morning, take this really extra slow. My right arm is kind of grounding me here. It's out in front of me, so I don't roll over as I roll backwards. And then again, you're making this circle as big or as small as makes sense for you in your body, your back and your shoulder. All right, go the opposite direction. So whichever way you're going, you go the other way now. Big sweep around. And then make sure you're not holding your breath. So inhale, open, exhale. You kind of contract forward towards your belly. And you'll inhale, expand and open. And exhaling towards your belly a bit. And we'll go 1 more time. Big circle. And good. And then just using your left hand to lift you up a bit and slide that ball down. So it's at the bottom of the rib cage and even on the waist area a little bit. Lay your body back down and it's the same thing. We're making circles with the arm. So inhale, open, doesn't matter which way, you're going to go both ways. Exhale, roll towards your belly a bit. And again, inhale, open, expand. And the exhale, rolling towards the belly. And 1 more time like that. And then switch directions. Big breath in, don't forget to breathe. Exhaling as you roll towards your belly. And again, inhale, lengthen, open, and we exhale. Let's do that one more time. Open and expand, and we exhale. So from here, we're going to start to just move that ball more towards the belly. So it's on the right rib cage now. So all I'm going to do is roll now onto my belly, but I'm going to flip around so you can see, but it's really staying on the right side of my belly. So it's to the right of my belly button, and it might even be touching my right hip bone as well. In fact, go ahead and if it's not, make sure that it is low enough that a portion of it is on the hip bone and tapping into the hip flexor here. So we'll take the left knee out. So the ball is on the right side of my belly. I'm taking my left knee out to the side at about a 90-ish degree angle. And the first thing I'm going to do here is just take about 3 big breaths. Long exhales, and I'll feel the ball just kind of tugging a little bit on the belly tissue. Again, it's on the right side of my belly. Inhaling deeply. So many amazing benefits to doing belly work, belly massage work. As I mentioned already, we're tapping a little bit into the hip flexors here. So if you tend to have hip flexors that are locked up, anybody who sits a lot, that's probably true. This can definitely be beneficial. Good. And then go ahead and start to make your way onto the forearms, and you're going to move around here. So maybe that ball rolls a little towards the belly and then back towards that rib cage. I'm using my arms and my opposite leg. My left leg is kind of pushing and pulling so that ball is moving left to right. I can even start to move up and down a little bit. So I'm rolling around, getting all of that superficial tissue on the right side of my body. And if your ball is making kind of grumbling noises, that's normal. Mine is. You can probably hear it. And then eventually finding again that ball at about the hip and right lower abdomen. From here, stay on that right forearm. Some of you might need a strap for this. You're going to be reaching around and catching the right foot. If you can catch it without the strap, great. If you need a strap, no problem. Grab your strap, hook the foot, and we're getting a bit of a quad and hip flexor stretch here while we're doing some myofascial work at the same time. So if you don't need the strap, just catch that foot. And then once you have yourself situated, start to move a little left to right. So I'm rolling the ball towards the belly button again, towards the outer hip again. My left knee is bent and supporting me. And I'm just moving side to side. Low intentional movements here. You guys look good. Right. Flip around again so you can see it from this side. Just moving a little side to side here. You'll notice the stretch on the quad and hip flexor changes as you move. All right, re-extend that right leg. Re-extend the left leg. And then start to move yourself back into a child's pose. If a child's pose doesn't work for you, you can simply round your spine for a breath or two. Just moving into a little bit of flexion. Good. And then starting to move yourself forward and onto the ball once again. It's on the left side now. We're going to go to the left rib cage. So all the way onto that left side, way up high by the armpit. We're going to do the whole left side now. So allowing that left arm to come forward in front of your body for some support. Maybe you have a block or a pillow under your head. And then we start to make circles with the right arm. Make sure your knees are bent so they're in line with your hips. That's much more supportive for your back. And slow circles. And you might notice this side is a little different than the other side. Flip around again so you can see. And again, right now that ball is really close to the armpit. It's on the rib cage, but pretty close to the armpit up high. We're making those circles. With your breath, we move. And then going the other direction with the arm, big circles. Keep breathing. And keep checking in. How does this feel for you? In no way, shape, or form should it be creating a fight or flight situation. Should not feel like an emergency. It does. Maybe you need to do something a little different. Maybe you need more supports. Maybe the ball needs to move. Maybe the arm circle needs to be smaller. Let's go ahead and move that ball down now. So it's at the bottom of the rib cage and even down on the waist a bit. And we repeat the circles. Make sure those knees are bent. Circling that arm around in whatever range feels okay for you and your body. So the shoulder might be telling you your range. The lower back might be telling you your range. And now let's take that arm in the other direction. And again, the whole body is involved. So the arm is moving, but we're also rolling to the belly, rolling a bit towards your back, rolling towards the belly and towards your back. And one more time. Start to make your way up a bit. And you're going to start to move this ball towards the outer left belly. I'm going to flip around so you can see where I'm talking about. So we're on the left side now. And a portion of it is down by that hip bone. In fact, make sure it is crossing the hip bone a bit. When we get to our final stretch, that is, we're going to move around a bit first. So make sure you're going all the way down to the hip flexor area, all the way up by the rib. Moving it towards that armpit again, if you'd like. And then eventually let it land right at that hip flexor and lower left abdomen area. Just take a breath or two here first, actually. Big belly breath. Right knee is out to the side, supporting you. I'm supporting my forehead with the backs of my hands. Let your gut just suck in and be empty on the exhale, just for a moment. Let that ball melt into your body. And breathe in. And again, let it completely empty and let that ball just do some lateral kind of tugging on that lower left abdomen and hip flexor area. You'll start to make your way up onto that left forearm. I'm going to reach around and catch my foot, my left foot with my right hand, either with a strap or you'll actually catch the foot with your hand. And then a little side to side movement here. So a hip flexor and quadricep stretch while we're doing some myofascial release work across the lower abdomen and hip flexor area. Slow, intentional movements here. And everything I'm saying is absolutely a suggestion. If something doesn't work for you, just be really intuitive and tune in, and maybe you can figure out something else that works better. Everybody's body is obviously different, so make sure you honor that for yourself. Release the leg, extend the right leg, press into your hands, and once again, either a child's pose or perhaps a rounded spine cat posture for a breath or two. And then we'll place the ball right in the middle of your belly. So right at the belly button. And then once again, laying your body down and starting with some deep breath. So as you breathe in, you'll feel your belly pressed against the ball. And as you breathe out, pause at the end of the exhale so that ball can sink a little deeper. Again, breathe in. Long exhale, breathe out. Keep breathing just like that. Belly massage, as I mentioned earlier, so beneficial in so many ways. I already talked about the fact that we're dealing with our diaphragm, and that when the diaphragm is locked down, it can, of course, limit your breath, which affects absolutely everything. If you can't take a deep breath, you're going to be more stressed. You're going to be more subject to disease. You're going to have less energy. Your mind will not function as well. But additionally, your hip flexors are in here. And if those hip flexors are tight, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to potentially have issues with your lower back. Keep breathing deeply. We'll take 3 more of those big breaths. Also, the majority of your lymph lives here in your gut. So your lymph system, if it's stagnant, belly massage can absolutely help with that. So go ahead and lift up and just start to shift your hips side to side. That ball will travel to the left and the right. And start to make some circles. So you can tuck your toes under, or maybe you do it from your knees. kind of pulling and pushing and making circles as big or as small as makes sense for you. If you can bring it all the way up to your rib cage area and then all the way down to the pelvic floor area, great. If you want to go smaller than that, that's fine too. But make sure you do go both ways. First, all of your digestive system lives in here. So if your digestive system is stagnant, not functioning well, this can absolutely help. And then start to make your way to the point where the ball is at the xiphoid process, anywhere on your chest area that feels okay for you. So everybody's different on this one. So for you, it might need to be a little higher. For you, it might need to be a little lower. But we're just going to take some breaths here again, affecting our diaphragm tissue. I like to put my hands on the ball and then rest my chin on my hand. That's what works best for me. So my head is not dangling and I'm not using my neck muscles here. So speaking of our neck muscles, again, if this diaphragm is locked up on you in any way, your neck will suffer. So deep, deep breath. Long exhales. Deep breath in. Long breath out. You have about 10 more breaths. You can absolutely just stay here and breathe. Or if you want to move around a bit, you can do that. You can start to move the ball to the right. It taps into that right shoulder area. And then move it over to the left. Or again, if staying still is what feels like it's going to serve you, you stay still. This front line, again, in here, affecting the tissue by the front of the neck. So if you're kind of have a forward head syndrome going on, text neck, this can be very beneficial. Releasing the tissue in this chest area and the tissue of the diaphragm can really help with neck tension. And just a few more breaths. And one more big breath in and out. All right, setting that ball off to the side. Lay your forehead down onto the backs of the hands. Take a nice big breath in and a long breath out. Now go ahead and start to move your way into a stretch for the chest and shoulder by taking the right arm straight out to the right. The palm will be down. Roll that shoulder back and then start to roll on top of this right arm. So whatever feels better in your body, maybe you step that left foot back behind you, or perhaps you keep the knees bent. Maybe you use your left hand to give you more support. Maybe you need something under your head. It could be your ball or it could be a block. Make sure you're not feeling any kind of tension coming into the neck while you're doing this. So what you want to be feeling is the chest and shoulder on the right arm, mostly. If it's mostly in your lower back, I recommend you really make a good choice about what you're doing with your legs. If stepping behind you is painful on the lower back, I wouldn't do that. I'd keep the knees bent and maybe help a little bit more by pushing into the left hand to lift you up. Really try to roll that shoulder back. It's tempting to just let that right shoulder drop forward. That would look like this. Roll it back, because what we want to feel is here, not just the front of the shoulder. We want to get into the chest, maybe even into the arm a bit. So make sure that is where you're feeling it. Check in on that. Pull that shoulder back. On your next exhale, roll to your belly. Take a breath. And then we start to make our way to the other side. Left arm out. Support yourself as you roll over. Maybe you have something under your head. Maybe that right foot steps back behind you. Check in with your lower back. Make sure it's not just your lower back. It really should be mostly your left chest and shoulder area now. And do make sure it is the chest and not just like the front of the shoulder. Okay, so check in. It's really important that you let yourself not just zone out completely while you're doing these, so that you can find the right area and that you can avoid overstretching or overdoing. Keep breathing here. I've already mentioned quite a few things that we're doing today, all this belly massage, including digestion. It boosts your immune system, your posture. Belly massage can release physical tension, all of the areas I already mentioned, but also emotional stress can land in your belly. And if it gets stuck there, it can affect your digestive system. It can affect your lymph system. Take one more big breath in and out. But also, and I'll talk a little bit more about this after I show you what you're doing next, but we're really affecting the kidney meridian line with all of what we're doing today. Start to roll to your belly slowly and take a breath in and out. And then you're going to find your block and a single yoga tune-up ball or whatever you're using, like a yoga tune-up ball. We're going to be placing this in that upper pectoral area. Okay, so there's two ways I'm going to show you today. There's more than two ways to do it, but I'm just going to show you two today. One is to actually use the block and the ball on top of the block. I'll show you that one first. We'll be placing that ball on that upper pectoral area, and then we start to move the arm. So it is the ball that's pressing into this area, so move the block so that it's not what's digging into you. If that's just not working for you, you have another option. You can sit or stand and just kind of massage this area by rolling the ball at your chest. Okay? Or you can spend some time doing one and then maybe the other. So you can see my block is on a diagonal here so that it's not like digging, like I don't have the corner of a block digging into me, right? I've got it turned away, and then I place the ball on top of the block, and then I start to move my arm. And again, if you're doing this and you're like, yeah, this is not working for me, then try that other option, just placing the ball on your chest and rolling it around. You can do like a snow angel. You can do kind of like a shoulder press if you're doing this one on the block. And then the other one you can do is let that arm come back behind you, palm up, and you let that hand land on your lower back. And then let that right elbow get heavy. There's a little bit of an internal rotation stretch that happens on the shoulder. And it actually opens up this whole area here so that you can get in a little deeper. Yeah, and if you know another option, yeah, perfect. I see some of you going to the wall. If you know another option, you want to do that instead, that's fine. But I'm just showing you the two for today. And we'll be here on this right side for about 5 or 6 more breaths. I'll tell you a little bit about that kidney meridian. So we're talking about the energetic line of the kidney. So we're talking like Chinese medicine, acupuncture, the qi that runs through the kidney meridian line. It's called the root of life. That's what they call it, the root of life. It's your reservoir of energy and your seat of courage and willpower. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in just a moment. So about 3 more breaths. Again, rolling here or on the floor on your block. Now, if you happen to have gotten up and you're at the wall, you can stay at the wall if you choose. We're going to come into a bent elbow chest stretch. If you're at the wall and you know how to do that, go ahead and do that. If you're on the floor with me, we're rolling back onto that right arm, but with a bent elbow. You probably will not be able to go as far as you were able to go with the straight arm. So don't be surprised if you go, oh, that's it. Again, maybe you have a block for some supports. Check in, roll that shoulder back. Make sure it is in the chest area mostly, not the lower back. And when I say not just the shoulder, what I'm saying is if you let the shoulder roll forward, you're just going to like feel this spot right here. Okay, we want it to be like in this area mostly and maybe a little here. But if you're just feeling it here, you're probably letting this shoulder drop forward. So externally rotate, whether you're at the floor or you're at the wall, bent elbow, stretch. And we'll take about 3 more breaths on this, and then we'll make it to our other side with the ball. Couple more breaths. All right. So again, you're either at the floor. I've got the block like this, and then the ball goes right on that upper pectoral area. Pin it in there. It's called pinning and stretching. And you're moving it, again, maybe a shoulder press, a snow angel. You could place that hand at your lower back, palm up, and let that elbow get heavy. And I'm supporting my forehead with my other hand. So that's your option on the block. And then I have the option of taking this ball and just rolling it around on this upper pectoral region. Yes, if you are at the wall, you know the wall version, you're welcome to take the wall version. You could even do the hand behind the lower back if you're doing this version where you're rolling it. And also at the wall, if you're at the wall, you could slide that left hand behind your lower back. That opens all of this up even more, and you might feel something different. And that may or may not be appropriate for you, so just make a good choice. So all of these chest muscles, when they're tight, it pulls all of this forward, which can cause all kinds of problems in the neck. So you have about 5 more breaths. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about your kidney meridian. So again, it's the root of life is what they call it. So when your kidney meridian energy, your chi, is blocked, physical symptoms can become present like chest pain, asthma, abdominal pain, hernias can develop, and then emotional symptoms can arise like paranoia, depression, fear, loneliness, and insecurity. All right, so go ahead and come out of that. If you're at the wall, you want to stay at the wall, you're welcome to. It's a bent elbow chest stretch. If you're at the floor with me, bend that left arm and you'll start to roll into the stretch. Again, please roll that shoulder back. So we want to feel in this area here, not just like right in the front of the shoulder, okay? Here's where we want to feel. That is going to affect all of this opening. This is going to help get these collarbones widen. It's going to help get the chest more open. Your posture will improve, which will make everything feel better from head to toe. So feeling that chest stretch, keep breathing. So I did mention some emotions that can show up when you have stuck energy in your kidney meridian line, but the opposite is actually true. So if you've been living in a state of fear or you've been feeling very paranoid or depressed, you can actually create a blockage in the meridian line. So it goes both ways. So if you're just kind of living in a certain stuck in a state of an emotional state of fear, anxiety, depression, hysteria, then you can actually create physical ailments that are connected with your kidney meridian line. And again, some of those things are asthma, chest pain, abdominal pain, irregular menstruation. Hernias can actually show up. All right. So we'll go ahead and start to make our way back to the mat if you're standing. And if you're already at the mat, you're already there. And we're going to move on. So once you make your way back to the mat, if you are using a double ball, we're going to be using the double ball. So if you took one out, go ahead and put it back in. Make sure you lock your tote down so that the balls don't escape. So we're going to be moving the balls right to the top of the right thigh. So right above the knee, you'll be laying on your belly once again. And the knee might even you might even have the balls like right at the knee. So not on top of the knee, but right above it. And then I've got my left knee out again for some support. And then we start to bend and straighten the right leg. So the balls again are right above the knee. So what's nice about the balls versus a foam roller is I can actually, like, here's my knee and I can place the balls. They almost like nudge in and around my patella, whereas a foam roller would just bump up against it, right? So you get a little bonus, you get in and around without bruising or just bumping over a bone. So bend and straighten the leg. And then go ahead and extend that leg straight out and shimmy the leg side to side. Now, yes, this can be done with a foam roller. It's fine. I just find you get a little added bonus with the balls. You get into areas that you would not be able to get into with a foam roller. Go ahead and move the balls to the middle of your thigh now. And relax your body back down. we start to bend and straighten the leg. Once again, bend and straighten, bend and straighten. Check back in with your breath. This can be pretty intense. So if it's too much, just remember you have some control. I can make it more intense or less intense by I can lift up and put more pressure on it, or maybe I lift up and get more pressure off of it. Okay. If I lean away from it a little to the left, it'll be a little less pressure. If I really lean more to the right, I can actually create more pressure. And extend that leg out and shimmy side to side. So if you happen to have knee issues, sometimes the problem is the locked up or stuck tissue in your quadriceps. And if there's tissue here is stuck, it's not functioning properly for you. If it's not functioning properly for you, your quadriceps are not supporting your knee as they should. All right, so we're gonna move the ball up one more time. So it's way up high at the very top of your thigh. And then turn your body so you can see I'm lifted up a little bit to the right. And then we bend and straighten again. So I'm putting a little more pressure on there. If that's too much, then don't turn to the right. If you need that pressure, a little more lean to the right. You can even tap into your TFL a little bit here, and that's going to be connecting into your IT band. So if you've ever been told you have tight IT band, this is going to be helpful. Bending and straightening the leg, and then a little, again, shimmy side to side. Maybe you lay your body down, maybe you lift it up. You decide what's appropriate for you, not just the pressure, but how does it feel on your back? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and rule out the whole thigh now. Maybe you do the whole thing at once, or maybe you do it in sections. It's your choice. You have about 5 breaths to iron it all out. Keep your little bit of integrity of your core here. So you don't want to come into a big sway back. You'll hurt your back. So it's almost like you get a little plank here. A little bonus. You get a little exercise in the core muscles while you're doing this. Just make sure you don't hurt your back, please. Pulling and pushing, pulling and pushing. Couple more breaths. And relax. Okay. We're going to set those balls off to the side. So hopefully you were doing the right side with me. So we're going to be putting the right knee on a padded surface. So make sure you have a padded surface. If you don't, please go grab something. I don't want you bruising your knee. Left foot is going to step forward. So it's a short stride, even a short lunge stride. Okay. From here, you can use your hands to kind of guide you. We're coming into flexion and extension. So extension is here. I kind of relax and my belly moves forward and my hips move back. And then we tuck under. So belly pulls up, glutes squeeze. I'm still staying really tall through the crown of my head. So I'm not slouching. Okay, so it's a tuck. All of this is very tall. Extension, I'm still reaching through the crown of my head. We tuck, squeeze the glute, extend, and we tuck. You should be feeling this right hip flexor as you do this. All right, the next time you come to the tucked under position, belly pulls up, squeeze your glute. Reach your right arm towards the sky, turn a little bit to the right, and then lean to the left. Lean to the left, straight over to the left. That should increase what you're feeling in this right hip flexor. Keep breathing. All right, start to make your way back out of that. We go back to some extension and some flexion. Extend and flex. Squeeze that glute every time you do the flexion. So tuck under, squeeze, extend. All right, we tuck again. This time the hands will come behind the head. Keep squeezing that glute, keep the core pulled in, turn to the right. And then the right elbow moves in the direction of the ceiling. So what I'm not doing is this. I'm not just dumping over here. Okay, that's not what we're doing. You're thinking of lengthening the right elbow up, which just so happens to make that left elbow kind of tip towards the thigh. Good, and bring it on back. Okay, very good. We're going to move to the left side with the balls, and then we'll stretch that left side after that. So if you need to do anything before you come to the floor, please do it. But eventually, balls right above your left knee. And then find a comfortable position here for your body. If you lean a little more left, you're going to feel more. If you kind of lean away from it, you're going to feel a little less. We bend and straighten the leg, bend and straighten the leg. And then extend that leg out and a shimmy side to side. And start to move the balls to the middle of your thigh. Same thing. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. So this whole front line that we're working on today, you do a lot of sitting, whether it be at a desk or in a car or airplane or whatever. It does get very locked down. And interestingly enough, we're not typically going to feel it in the front body where we're locked down. It shows up in the back body. So it shows up in your lower back. It shows up in your hamstrings. It shows up in your back of your neck. And straighten that leg, shimmy side to side. So many benefits to this working on the front line of the body here. I'm talking myofascial front line, but it's also that kidney meridian line. That's the energetic line we're working on. And of course, all the belly massage we did earlier and all those amazing benefits. All right, let's move that ball to the very top of your thigh and maybe even turn a little bit to the left. That's how I feel it, the way that I want to feel it. You may not want that. So decide for yourself and then bend and straighten and bend and straighten. You might be lifted up. You might be laying all the way down. Make a good choice for yourself. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. And shimmy that leg side to side. All right, and then we start to push and pull and iron out that whole leg. Maybe you do it in segments, or maybe you do the whole thing all at once. It's your choice, which way you want to do it. You have an area that seems particularly stuck. Maybe you stay there for a little bit. Check back in with your breath. All right. Coming on up, we'll put the left knee down and then the right foot steps forward. So we'll move from flexion to extension. And remember, you want to keep a really tall spine. Like there's a string pulling the top of your head up. So I'm not doing anything with my upper body. It stays still and gets longer, whether I'm coming into flexion or extension. Eventually, you'll pause in flexion. So that's tucking under. Squeeze that left glute, engage the core. Left arm reaches up. Turn to the left and then lean to the right. You'll feel more in this hip flexor here. Keep breathing. So we're going to revisit our flexion and extension. Back and forth slowly. And then keep the tuck under. Hands come behind your head. Turn to the left. And then it's the left elbow moving towards the ceiling, which just so happens to make the right elbow move in the direction of my right thigh a little bit. Again, in no way am I just dumping over here. That will do nothing for you. So lengthen the left elbow towards the ceiling. Keep breathing. If you're falling over, try taking a wider base. Maybe walk your right foot to the right a little bit. And we slowly make our way out of that. All right. And then coming onto hands and knees, round your spine like a cat. And extend your spine way back, cow pose. And round and tuck. And extend. And we'll do exactly the same thing, but on your forearms now. Round your spine. And extend. Drop your ribs, lift your chest. And round. And extend. One more time. We tuck and round. And extend. Good. And make your way onto your belly. From here, slide your forearms so they're slightly forward of your shoulders. And then start to lift and lengthen the chest. Now, the idea here is to do your best to be lengthening the front side of the body, not dumping into the lower back. If all you're feeling is a pinch in the lower back, you might need to walk your elbows a little more forward and don't lift as much. But press into your forearms and almost like you're dragging your body forward. And then start to make some slow circles with your neck. And then go the other way. You can stay and pause right here and take 3 more breaths. If you really feel like you need more, slide your hands out, press into your hands, and start to move your arms in the direction of straight. Remember, the idea is to feel something in the front body more than the back body. So if now all of a sudden it's just a crunch in the lower back, maybe you return to the forearms. 2 more big breaths. Whatever feels best in your neck. It could drop down, it could stay neutral. Maybe you do some more circles. Big breath in, a long breath out. And then start to lower your body. Bring your hands to the earth. And then start to make your way onto your back. Separate your feet as wide as your mat, or even wider is fine. And you'll start to rock your knees side to side. Starting to wind down. A couple more times to the right and left. And then keep your feet wide and teepee your knees towards each other. Take a nice big belly breath. And then open your mouth and let it go. If you'd like to keep this modified position with the legs for your Shavasana, you're welcome to do that. You can start to extend your legs out, more traditional Shavasana. Wrap your shoulder blades down and back. Can you widen your collarbones and allow your chest to be open, palms open? And one more big breath in and out. Let your body melt into the earth. Let everything go. Please take your time in your Shavasana. It truly is a gift. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste, my friends.